Just before this episode, here's how you can get more from Never a Truer Word. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you can subscribe to this channel to get early access to the weekly analysis episodes, video episodes so you can see the statements as I analyse them, and exclusive content too. And if you're here on YouTube, then become a member of the channel to get early access to everything and exclusive content not available anywhere else. When someone's back's against the wall, how can we tell if they're acting with honour and dignity or telling self-serving lies? The answer is to look inside the words that they use.
I was in the bathroom, someone came up behind me and jerked it behind my back. Are you deaf, Adelson? I wasn't afraid of being arrested. The word is snitch. You don't tell on anyone because you'll be sorry you did. I've seen movies where people are stuck in third world prisons and waiting.
Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Looking at what is said using my process of statement investigation, which anyone can learn to give themselves an advantage in understanding the world all around them. We're going to look at Donna Adelson. She is currently in jail, awaiting charges relating to the murder of her son-in-law, Dan Markell. She appeared for a court hearing recently. Now, Donna claims she shouldn't be in jail because it's not nice. The prosecution say she should be locked up because she's a flight risk. So who's got it right? We're going to look at the evidence that was given in that hearing, inside the words, because you're about to find out. And what am I looking for here? Well, I'm looking for stress signs from Donna Adelson. So when she's talking about things, is she relaxed and free and easy, or is it causing her stress? I'm going to look at story selling as well. That is she just telling us events as they happened, or is she selling a story to us? But really importantly, and I don't do this often enough, I'm going to point out when I think Donna Adelson is telling the truth. Why? Because actually studies vary, but we hear the truth most of the time. Lies are relatively rare. Now look, when people are being truthful, they might be hiding things, they might be not mentioning things, it might be a kind of distorted truth, but we hear the truth a lot, and when we can spot the truth, that really helps us find the lie. So we're going to look for Donna's truth as well. So let's go inside the court, let's listen to the court hearing, and let's hear how Donna describes life in prison.
The next thing I want to talk about is what transpired in October of, October of 2024, where you had said previously you were attacked. What were you doing? Where were you at, first of all, when that took place?
In October. So I was in the bathroom. It's 10:30 at night. I went in to brush my teeth.
Okay.
There are three sink stations in the bathroom. Each one has 4 sinks, and I was at the center station with my back to the door, and I'm a righty, so I was holding my toothbrush with my right hand, and I was balancing myself with my left hand on the sink. I was just brushing my teeth. That's all I was doing.
And what happened?
And someone came up behind me and pulled my left hand away from the sink and twisted my arm and jerked it behind my back, reaching up toward my neck.
Okay.
And
did it hurt?
Yeah, it hurt.
Okay. What happened?
It hurt. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she's, in the same breath that she did that with my arm, she said, "You're going to buy me commissary." I said, "I'm going to what?" And she said, "Unless you want those pretty white teeth knocked out of your mouth, you're going to buy me commissary." So I said, okay. And then she named a package that she wanted, and she's out. She was gone. She just that fast.
Okay.
Wow. So we have, it's award season. Is that some Oscar award nominating acting, or is that the truth? Is that something very traumatic that happened to Donna Adelson inside the prison? So she is asked, and look at the question, it's in lots and lots of bits, but at the very end is, First of all, where were you at, first of all, in that place? And she says, in October, so I was in the bathroom. So she does directly answer the question. She starts off by saying where it happened, which is what it was that she was asked. Where were you, first of all, in that place? She says, I was in the bathroom. And so she starts with, in October, so I was in the bathroom, it was 10:30 at night. Now, you'll notice that she is talking in past tense here. I was in the bathroom, it was 10:30 at night. I went in to brush my teeth. So she's using lots of past tense here. Good sign, normally, because when someone's talking about past events, we expect to hear past tense used. Very often, a liar, when they are talking about pretend past events, they'll use the present tense, or they'll slip into the present tense every now and again. But we've got some reliable things here, which is this is in the past tense. Now, I've highlighted something here, which is when she says, I went in to brush my teeth. She's already told us she was in the bathroom. I was in the bathroom is what she says. And then she says again, I went in to brush my teeth. So what we've got there is her telling us she went in the bathroom twice, or she was in the bathroom and then she's telling us that she went in again. So she says, I was in the bathroom, it was 10:30 at night, I went in to brush my teeth. So I'm getting here, is this some potential deception happening? Did this not really happen? Because very often in fictitious stories that people are telling us, they'll describe action twice just because they don't have a realistic timeline in their head of events. So they will say things twice because, well, they're not really following a movie inside their head. They're following something they're making up. So I was in the bathroom, I went in to brush my teeth. It would have made lots of sense if she said, I was in the bathroom, it was 10:30 at night, I was brushing my teeth. That would have made a lot more sense. She goes on to say, there are three sink stations in the bathroom. Now, 3 is known in statement deception terms as the liar's number. It comes up so often in lies. Now, I don't know how many sink stations there were in this bathroom. This could be true, right? We have no proof that this is true. All I know is when someone's telling a story and the number 3 pops up, be on alert for deception, because it is very possible that deception is happening, and that's what I picked up here with these 3 sink stations. So there are three sink stations in the bathroom. Each one has 4 sinks, and I was at the center station with my back to the door, and I'm a righty, so I was holding my toothbrush with my right hand. Okay, we now have and so storytelling going on. This is when someone tells us, and this is the case, so this happened. That is, again, another indication that potential deception is happening. It doesn't prove deception is happening, but when someone's telling us a story and they start using and so, they're not just telling us events that happened, they're starting to explain why these events happen. Why are they doing that? Why are they not just telling us what was happening? So we've got and so storytelling coming in here from Donna. And I'm a righty, so I was holding my toothbrush with my right hand. Now, notice that just a very small point, but let's believe what she's saying. She doesn't say she was brushing her teeth with her right hand, and I think that will be very important. She was holding her toothbrush with her right hand. So that's very different from I had my left hand balancing and I was brushing my teeth with my right hand. She was holding her toothbrush with her right hand. And she says, and I was balancing myself with my left hand on the sink, just brushing my teeth. That's all I was doing. The word just always puts me on red alert for deception. So already in this answer, I've had a few things that put me on alert for deception. I haven't quite found anything yet that suggests actual deception happening, but I'm on alert. The deception is here. I'm on alert that she is selling us a story, not just telling us events that happened. So she says, just brushing my teeth, that's all I was doing. Now that doesn't mean anything in terms of the story. You've heard the story. She was in there in the bathroom. She went in to brush her teeth and she was attacked. That is what the story is. So when she tells us, I was just brushing my teeth, now just often indicates deception, often indicates that there was more happening, just as an attempt to focus our attention off in a really small area and ignoring all the other things that are going on in the story. And I think that's what we've got going on here from Donna. I think there was more going on than brushing her teeth there. That's all I was doing. Again, that is needless. She feels this need to persuade us that all she was doing in this bathroom was brushing her teeth. Was there more going on here? That's what I think is is very possible. She's then asked, and what happened? And she says, and someone, I think it is, someone came up behind me and pulled my left hand away from the sink and twisted my arm and like jerked it back behind my back, like reaching upward towards my neck. That extract there, and someone came up behind me and pulled my left hand away from the sink and twisted my arm and like jerked it behind my back, like reaching up toward my neck. That is very straightforward. There is nothing persuasive in there. There is nothing convincing in there. It's just a very straightforward, very linear telling of events. She could have said, pulled violently my left hand away from the sink and twisted horribly my arm up and jerked it behind my back. But there's none of those extra needless words in there. It's very, very clean. Pulled my left hand away from the sink, twisted my arm and like jerked it up behind my back, like reaching up toward my neck. So I am tempted to think that that part of the story did happen. So although I've seen many indicators that potential deception could be happening in this story, that part there rings out to me as true. I believe that this part might have happened, that this part of the attack happened in the bathroom. Donna's then asked, did it hurt? And she says, yeah, it hurt. Again, very straightforward, very direct. It's not, it hurt terribly. It was awful. I've never felt pain like it in my life. It's just, yeah, it hurt. She's asked a yes-no question, did it hurt? And her very first word in reply is yeah, which again, when people are asked questions that you can answer with yes or no, if they're selling you a story, they might go into a bit of a narrative rather than saying yes or no. But she goes, yeah, straight away, yeah, it hurt. She's then asked, okay, what happened? She says, it hurt. And I said, what are you doing? And she, in the same breath that she did that with my arm, she said, you're going to buy me commissary. Now I got a feeling I've got deception, because just look at the order there. In one breath, she twisted my arm and said, you're going to buy me commissary. And she twisted my arm and I said, what are you doing? And then she answered. That's what's there in that, if you just look at it, because she's had her arm twisted. Then Donna says, what are you doing? And then in the same breath, even though the arm has been twisted already in her telling of the story, and Donna has spoken and asked a question, in the same breath that she did with my arm, she said, you're going to buy me commissary. So that doesn't hang together, because the breath would have gone, twisted the arm, then waited for Donna maybe to scream in a bit of pain and go, ow, what are you doing? And then in the same breath saying, you're going to buy me commissary. It doesn't hang together. Let's just think about that again. So Donna has said that her arm was taken, the left arm was taken off the sink and twisted up behind her back towards her neck. I said, what are you doing? And she, in the same breath that she did that with my arm, she said, you're going to buy me commissary. So in one breath, she twisted my arm. Then Donna said, you're going to buy me commissary. Then she twisted my arm and I said, what are you doing? And she answered, that just doesn't all hang together. Donna continues, I said, I'm going to do what? And she said, unless you want those pretty white teeth knocked out of your mouth, you're going to buy me commissary. So I said, okay. And then she named the package that she wanted and she's out. She's gone. Just that fast. Have you noticed and so storytelling there? We've got the and she said, unless you want those pretty white teeth knocked out of your mouth, you're going to buy me commissary. So I said, okay. So once more, we have not just this linear listing of events that has happened, but we have this and so storytelling. And this happened, so I did this. And this happened, so I did this. Very common in deception. We also have the phrase, and then, in that extract. I said, okay, and then she named the package that she wanted. Now, and then is a jump in time when we tell a story. Very often we do it every day, but we do it for brevity. If you slept in, my alarm went off and then I grabbed a cup of coffee and ran out the door. We don't talk about, throwing the covers off as getting out of bed, brushing our teeth, going to the bathroom, getting dressed, then going out the door. It's just the alarm went off and then I just ran out the door. So we use and then to jump in time, very often for reasons of brevity. But when we're telling a deceptive story, we can do it to just jump events that don't really help our story or help the perception of what it is that we're trying to get across. So here, there's a jump in time between her saying, okay, and then naming a package. So I get the feeling something is being hidden in this extract. And then she describes how this person who attacked her disappeared. So she named the package that she wanted and she's out. she's gone. Just that fast, that fast. Now, the first thing that got me in that extract, once more, is the word just. So when I see the word just, I start digging into the words around it to see what's going on. And here I have, she's out, she's gone. Present tense. She's out, she's gone. Just that fast, that fast. She wants to make it sound as if this was a really fast ambush. In, out, very fast, but we've spotted that we have and then in there, jumps in time. I've spotted that I don't think all that was happening was she was brushing her teeth and then she was attacked. I think more went on, potentially a conversation or something like that. And then she's gone, she's out just that fast, like there was no further conversation. After she said, okay, the person disappeared, but it's in present tense, so I'm not taking that as reliable. Let's get some more from that story.
How bad would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad would you rate the pain at the time that she did that to you?
Oh my God, it was a 10.
Okay.
I didn't know my arm could reach that far back.
Okay. And what did you do after she did that to you?
So, kind of stood there for a minute, and then I just thought, okay, I'm gonna go back to my bunk. And I went back to my bunk and I got under the covers and I cried. I just stayed under my covers. I didn't come out.
Okay. During your entire time in the annex, did this particular inmate remain confined in that area with you?
She was in the annex the whole time.
Okay. And I know that you don't want to talk about who did this to you because why? Why don't you want to disclose who it was?
There's one thing I've learned since I'm there is you don't, the word is snitch, you don't snitch, you don't tell on anyone because you'll be sorry you did. And I've seen that. And so, I didn't even tell you for a while. I wasn't going to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody. Because I didn't want, she's a big woman. And I was afraid of her.
Okay. Approximately how tall would you say she is compared to you?
She's over 6 feet,
Okay.
over 200 pounds. She's
Okay.
a very large woman.
Okay. Were you afraid of her?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I was after that.
Okay. And you said that she demanded that you were going to start getting her weekly commissary. Did you do that?
Yes.
There's lots to dig into in that second part of that story from Donna Adelson. She's asked, how bad would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad would you rate the pain at the time that she did that to you? She says, oh my God, it was a 10. I think that might be a little bit over dramatic, but I will let her away with some of that because she doesn't say it's an 11. She doesn't go over there to convince us it's the worst pain in her life or anything like that. Oh my God, it was a 10. So again, remember I said, I do think that this thing happened. I do think she had this attack going on. And she, again, just around what happened, the physical part of it, not the mental or the bullying or the part where she's forced to do something, around that physical pain, I believe that happened. And she says, oh my God, it was a 10. She said, I didn't know my arm could, and I think she goes to say bend, but pulls back and thinks better of it. I didn't know my arm could reach that far back. Now, bending and reaching, those are things you do yourself. I reach out, I bend my own arm. Someone else would force your arm. And so would she use the words bend and reach when someone else had done it? Would she not just say go or could be pushed or something like that? But she talks about bending, potentially says bending, but her arm reaching that far behind her back. Don't know, but that word reach got to me. Donna's then asked, and what did you do after she did that to you? And Donna says, so I kind of stood there for a minute, and then I just thought, okay, I'm going back into my bunk. We've got, and then again, I stood there for a minute and then I just thought, okay, I'm going back to my bunk. So again, we have this jump in time. She stood there for a minute. Something else happened. It might be a thought process. It could be an action that she's taken. But again, she's jumping in time. I just stood there for a minute and then I just thought, okay, I'm going back to my bunk. I think she thought a hell of a lot more. And is that what the and then is? Is that I stood there for a minute planning my revenge or thinking, how can I tell about this? Or what is going on there? I don't know. But I don't believe this part of it. There's more to it. And then suggests a jump and just suggests she's trying to get us to focus on something very, very small when there was a lot more happening. She carries on and says, And I went back to my bunk and I got under the covers and I cried. Again, this is Donna telling the truth. I believe this. Again, there's no persuasive language in there telling us how awful things were. There's nothing to convince us that this really happened. Honestly, truly, God, to God, this really happened. None of that at all. It's just very straightforward. It's a very straight, crisp telling of events. And then I went back to my bunk and I got under the covers and I cried. And then she brings up the word just again. I just stayed under my covers. I didn't come out. So the word just gets me digging in again. I just stayed under my covers. I didn't come out. I don't know about you, but I do this every single night. I just go to my bunk or my bed and I stay under the covers. It's called going to bed, what she's described. I believe she's being honest there, and a lot of the time honesty is what we hear. She's just trying to make it sound a little bit more dramatic than it actually was. She got into her bunk, she got under the covers, she cried, and she just stayed under the covers. In other words, after this attack, which might not have been quite as bad as Donna wants to paint it, after this attack she went to bed. She's then asked, okay, during your time in the entire annex, did this particular inmate remain confined in that area with you? And Donna says she was in the annex all the time. Now, the bit that just got me a little bit interested there and starts to get me interested a lot is the word was there. She was in the annex all the time. I think this just indicates that that prisoner is not there anymore. Okay. She's asked, and I know that you don't want to talk about who did this to you because why? Why don't you want to disclose who it was? And Donna says, one thing I've learned since I'm in there is the word is snitch. You don't snitch. You don't tell on anyone because you'll be sorry you did. Now, you'll notice she's been a little bit distant there. Now, this could again be Donna being honest. She's telling us what she's observed and what she's learned here. One thing I've learned since I'm there is you don't snitch. Not I've learned not to snitch. The word is snitch. You don't snitch. You don't tell on anyone because you'll be sorry you did. Just an interesting way of her doing it. She hasn't learned herself, in her words there, that I don't tell tales, that if I tell tales, bad things will happen to me. It's that you don't snitch. So potentially that's what she's discovered. She hasn't snitched. This is why she's using that slightly distancing language from that. And she says, and I've seen that. And there you go again. She said, I've seen that, not I've experienced that. So I've seen that happen to other people. So Donna hasn't snitched as far as I can tell. And so I didn't even tell you for a while. She says, I wasn't going to tell anybody. And that got me just as a proof of these things happen and that our words come out as we mean them in our minds. She says, I wasn't going to tell anybody. She's telling us right now what has happened. So we know that it's not, I'm never going to tell anybody this story. It would be a lie because she's telling us this story. But I wasn't going to tell anybody this story. Again, this is Donna telling the truth. She was not going to tell the story, but now she is. And all the time we will reveal the truth inside our words because the truth's inside our head. It's the easiest thing for us to get out from our brains to our mouths is the truths. Donna carries on. I didn't want to tell anybody. I said, well, she's a big woman and I was afraid of her. So once again, we have the past tense. It's not I am afraid of her. It's I was afraid of her. So this makes me think that prisoner is now no longer Donna's problem, not in Donna's area. Donna is asked, okay, approximately how tall would you say she is compared to you? And Donna says, she's over 6 feet. She's over 200 pounds. She's a very large woman. Now, she talks in the present tense here. She's over 6 feet. She's over 200 pounds. She's a very large woman. That's all correct. Even if this person is in Donna's past, the fact, her height, her weight, the fact she's a large woman, all would be a present tense situation because she still exists, even though she's not in Donna's life anymore. It's not in the background. It's still happening right now. I would say that we get into persuasiveness here, though, because she's asked, how tall would you say she is compared to you? And what she does is she does say how tall she is. She's over 6 feet. But then she gives us some extra information just to say how big this person was. So she's only asked how tall when she's over 6 feet. Donna gives the extra information. She's over 200 pounds. She's a very large woman. So this is about persuading us that this person was bigger than Donna. Although she doesn't say compared to her. She doesn't say she's taller than me. She's over 6 feet. She just wants to get across how intimidating this person was by not about the actions that they took that were intimidating, but about the fact they existed at over 6 feet, at over 200 pounds. She's a very large woman. She's asked, were you afraid of her? And she says, yeah, I was after that. again, I was after that. So Donna is no longer afraid of this person, would make me think this person has moved on again from the prison. And then we got, I think this is Donna's attorney who's questioning her here, because it is very friendly. And she says, okay, you said that she demanded that you were going to start getting a weekly commissary. Did you do that? And Donna says, yes. Donna never mentioned weekly commissary in the evidence that we heard of this story whatsoever. Weekly commissary didn't come up. It was, you're going to get me commissary, and it was a package that she wanted. So the attorney has introduced here the weekly commissary element of this, which is just something to note. Doesn't mean Donna's lying here. It means that the attorney, this is a bit of proof, and why not? This is all fair, that this is a pre-planned conversation. Let's get some more now from Donna, this time talking about some medical issues.
Do you have any other medical conditions that you wanted us to address in the bond hearing that you're suffering from?
So I have a hearing issue.
Okay.
I have a problem. I evidently have very narrow ear canals, and so the wax builds up in my ears to the point that, I mean, I have officers that say to me, "Are you deaf, Adelson?" When I don't respond to them, it's because I don't hear them. And so I did ask for help in the, I asked the doctor if there was anything they could do for me, and I told her what's normally done, and she said, we use Debrox to soften the wax, and then you come down 3 or 4 days later, and we use a bulb syringe to remove it. And I said, that doesn't work. I need a different procedure. And she said, that's all we can do for you.
I know you spotted it. I know you heard it. I will be dealing with that as we go. Can I also say that I noticed that very much like Donna's daughter, Wendy, she seems to play a different character depending on the situation that she's talking about, because her whole tone and vibe there, very different from when she was talking about what happened to her in the bathroom, including letting out some parts of her personality, as I think we will see. So the question was put to her, do you have any other medical conditions that you wanted us to address in the bond hearing that you're suffering from? And Donna says, so I have a hearing issue. I have a problem. I evidently have very narrow ear canals. And so get the wax builds up in my ears to the point that, I have officers that say to me, are you deaf, Adelson, when I don't respond to them? It's because I don't hear them. So we have and so popping up again. I have a problem. I evidently have very narrow ear canals. And so, and she's explaining what is going on in this story here. She's not just telling us events, but she's giving us and this is happening, so this is happening. Also, evidently have very narrow ear canals. I was very interested in that. Like, you have them or you don't. She's saying she evidently has them. Is that, I don't know, is that because she doesn't have any proof? Or is that because she's Donna Adelson and she's from this big, high, mighty, perfect family? They don't have narrow ear canals. It's a kind of weakness. So I'm not going to say that I do have them. I'm going to say someone has told me that I have them. So I evidently have these very narrow ear canals. Got the word very going on there as well. So that's a need to persuade. They're not just narrow ear canals. They're very narrow ear canals. And she says the wax builds up on my ears to the point that, and then she stops. The wax builds up in my ears to the point that, well, she doesn't say to the point I can't hear. Well, that's what she alludes to in the next part, but she doesn't say very simply and plainly, I have trouble hearing things. What she goes on to is the bad treatment that she gets from the officers because she can't hear things. But she doesn't ever say, I can't hear things. I have officers that say to me, are you deaf, Adelson? When I don't respond to them. That's very self-centered. When I don't respond to them, not when they don't get an answer from me, when they say something to me and I don't hear them. It's when I don't respond to them. Is that selective hearing? Could be, because she's very focused not on not hearing what is said, she's very focused on not responding to what is said, because that's what comes first. They say to me, are you deaf, Adelson? When I don't respond to them, it's because I don't hear them. But she doesn't say there that she can't hear them. She doesn't say explicitly that she can't hear them. And she carries on and says, and so, there's another and so from her. I did ask for help in the I asked the doctor if there was anything they could do for me, and I told her what's normally done. And she said, we use Debrox to soften the wax, and then it comes down 3 or 4 days later, and we use a bulb syringe to remove it. And I said, that doesn't work. I need a different procedure. And she said, that's all we can do for you. Now, in this little extract at the end, we have some examples of controlling language here. I asked the doctor if there was anything she could do for me. That's not controlling language. That's kind of fair. I asked, is there anything you could do for me? But then I told her what's normally done. So this is her, not I helped her out, but it's I told her. Controlling, dominating language. I'm better than the doctor. You know, the doctor trained to deal with all sorts of things, but Donna told her what's normally done. So I'm getting some controlling tendencies through here from Donna. And she said, we use Debrox to soften the wax. It comes down 3 or 4 days later, and we use a bulb syringe to remove it. And I said, and then she pulls back from that. And I said, that doesn't work. I need a different procedure. So, and I said, and I think this was her pulling herself back from sounding even more controlling. I said, don't want that, need something different from that, I can't take that, whatever it was. I think there was another bit of controlling language there. However, she just replaced it with more controlling language. And I said, that doesn't work. I need a different procedure. That doesn't work. Just telling a doctor that doesn't work. I don't think that would work. Would just be someone who is a bit more having a conversation and not controlling that conversation and not trying to control what happens to them. I need a different procedure. Again, controlling language from Donna there. I think we've all, if you have followed the trial, you have followed the story of the murder of Dan Markel. Control and Donna Adelson are two things that go together. Listen, we will have much, much more from Donna Adelson, including why she can't sleep, and no, it's not her guilty conscience, and why was she in such a hurry to get to Vietnam. We will find out from Donna very shortly. Now listen, do you ever feel like you're not being told the full story? Potentially like by people like Donna Adelson? Well, you're right, it's happening all the time, and I'm here to give you the key to seeing deeper with techniques like the one I've been using in this episode, because it's about hearing the world with new ears, and I'm on a mission. I want to share this with as many people as possible. So if you want to unlock this secret, subscribe or follow this channel and just join the movement. Also, dive into the archives to upskill yourselves on how this all works. There's a treasure trove of cases waiting to be explored, including dives into more, in this case, more of Donna Adelson and some of Wendy Adelson as well. Or do you know someone who needs this? Do you know someone who deserves to hear the truth? Then hit the like button, share this, recommend it, pass it on, because every single click, every single share, it fuels the fire. It allows me to dig deeper, analyze further, and bring this life-changing skill to even more people. So let's do this together. Shall we go back to the courtroom and Donna Adelson?
Listen, I know older people don't need as much sleep as younger people, but I need more than 2 hours a night. I need more than a good night is 3. One night I had 3.5 hours. It's not enough sleep to stay focused. I mean, I feel like I'm foggy sometimes because I'm sleepy, I'm tired, and I can't go to sleep. They've got people screaming and yelling. They bang on the doors, they shake the doors. It sounds like a drum in there. It's horrible. So I can't sleep with all that noise going on. And
oh, are you feeling sorry for her yet? This is the story of why she can't sleep inside jail. She starts with the word listen. Listen, I know older people don't need as much sleep as younger people. This is more commanding language. You listen. Listen. It's just something that people who think they are in control and want to dominate the conversation, it's what they say. And it's interesting that none of this was really there in the story of the attack inside the bathroom, but when she's describing her medical conditions, then she wants people to pay attention to her because she wants to command the conversation. So she starts with, listen, I know older people don't need as much sleep as younger people, but I need more than 2 hours a night. So again, we've got Donna telling us, I need more than 2 hours a night. You'll notice she doesn't say she doesn't get more than 2 hours a night. She just says, I need more than 2 hours a night. What she doesn't say is, I only get 2 hours of sleep a night and I need more than that. What is unsaid is often the most telling thing in what someone says. And here, she doesn't tell us how much sleep she regularly gets at night. She just says, I need more than 2 hours a night. But she doesn't, in my view, have the truthful experience of getting only 2 hours sleep a night. She wants to give us the impression that that's all she gets, but when she doesn't say the words, we shouldn't assume that's what she means. She's just stating to us there, she needs more than 2 hours sleep a night. Now look, there's a truthful statement. I need more than 2 hours sleep a night. Most of us do. But she doesn't say how much sleep she gets. She says, I need more than that. And again, we've got this sort of commanding language of I need. She said, a good night is 3. One night I had 3.5 hours. So a good night's sleep is 3. We've got the liar's number there again. A good night is 3. One night I had 3.5 hours. So again, she's not saying that this is what happens to her regularly. She's not saying she experienced any of this. One night I had 3.5 hours. Listen, one night I had 3.5 hours sleep as well. It doesn't mean it happens regularly. It doesn't mean it happens all the time. It doesn't mean that's the most I've ever slept. And Donna is not saying these things out loud. So we shouldn't believe that this is what she wants to say. I believe she doesn't have the realistic experience here and that she is putting it on and saying things that are true, but very limited true, to give us the impression that she hardly gets any sleep inside this prison. I need more than a good night is 3. One night I had 3.5 hours. It's not enough sleep to stay. And she doesn't know what she wants to say next because she pauses and she repeats again to stay. It's not enough sleep to stay focused. So that's an insight into her character, that she wants to stay focused. Why do you want lots of sleep? I'm sure you will have a different answer from me. I like lots of sleep because I love sleeping. Sleep is a great thing and I feel rested and I feel energetic when I sleep. When I don't sleep, I'm not such a nice person to be around. That's why I like sleep. And also my head is much nicer because I'm not really, annoyed and tetchy and edgy. What about you? Why do you like lots of sleep, or why do you like the amount of sleep that you like to get? But to stay focused is a very interesting thing. So Donna wants to stay focused. I believe her. She wants to stay focused. I just want to know focused on what, and I want to know why that is important to her. She carries on telling us about this. She says, I feel like I'm foggy sometimes because I just... sleepy, I'm tired, and I can't go to sleep. There are people screaming and yelling. They bang on the doors. So let's start with this. I feel like I'm foggy sometimes. So she's putting some distance in here. She's not saying I'm foggy sometimes. She's saying I feel like I'm foggy sometimes. So how often is this happening and how bad is it really? She's trying here to persuade us it is bad, but we can see the words are falling apart here. It's not standing up at all when we dig into her words. I feel like I'm foggy, and also, you know what I can spot there? I can spot there a sometimes. So this, again, she's trying to tell us that she never gets a good night's sleep, that 3.5 hours is the most sleep she's ever had. She wants to stay focused, but look, what have we got? It's just I feel, so not even I am foggy. I feel like I'm foggy, and sometimes. So truth, she's probably not had some great night's sleeps intermittently, now and again, but she wants us to believe that it's this every single night. I'm tired and I can't go to sleep. Then she says, there are people screaming and yelling. Now, people is another word that gets my red flags going for deception. Why? Because it's a very generic term. It's just people. I see it all the time, and people are saying to me this, or people will not like that. It's a term that's very generic, and it seems to indicate deception could be happening. Again, when someone says the word people, it doesn't mean they're lying to you, but it's an indication of why are they not being more specific? Why are they sort of hiding behind this? And then this part really got to me, because there are people screaming and yelling. They bang on the doors. They shake the doors. It sounds like a drum in there. It's horrible. So I can't sleep with all that noise going on. Look at all the words around sound. Bear in mind, she's trying to tell us earlier, and I said I didn't quite believe her, that she was deaf and couldn't hear things. Her issues are with people screaming and yelling and banging, and the sound like a drum and all the noise. There are people screaming and yelling. They bang on the doors. They shake the doors. It sounds like a drum in there. It's horrible. So I can't sleep with all that noise going on. And yet she's also deaf. Now, Before we get going in the comments, I know that sound issues, trust me, I know I've got partial hearing myself. I know that sound issues vary and that some sound can be overwhelming and some sound can't be heard because our hearing can be all out of whack. But having said just 2 minutes ago that she was deaf, now she's trying to say she can't sleep because she can hear quite a lot. Okay, this is a really interesting bit because this is her dealing with the trip to Vietnam that she was planning to take, and she was on her way to try and get that flight to Vietnam. Conveniently, a country without an extradition treaty with the US, and she was on her way there when she got arrested.
You said that if you are given a bond, you will reside in Tallahassee, you will follow court orders, but when you were afraid of being arrested right after Charlie Adelson's trial, isn't it true that you hoped that you could get to the airport before you were arrested?
I wasn't afraid of being arrested.
What were you trying to get to the airport in time for? In that jail
My
cell?
husband and I were literally shocked and traumatized at what had happened to Charlie. And he said, we need to just get some peace. We need to catch our breath. We're going to go away somewhere. And I thought it was a good idea because I couldn't think straight. I really couldn't think straight. I was so upset, and so was he. And it was his idea. He said, sweetheart, let's go, just get away. We're going to just get away somewhere so we can have some time to think.
Okay, so your testimony is that you weren't trying to go to Vietnam because you wouldn't be able to be extradited from there.
So my husband actually had said, you know, we've been to Vietnam before with friends. We were on vacation, and it really was like a place of peace. And so he said, if we go to a non-extradition country, then if the law enforcement decided that they wanted to arrest you or me, or whatever, both, he said, we won't be sitting in a foreign prison waiting months to go back. We can buy a ticket and we can go home. And my understanding was that I could go home and I could turn myself in if that's what they wanted.
Okay, but you were hoping to make it out of America in time before you were arrested, right?
I wanted to get away. He wanted to get away. That's what we wanted to do. And it wasn't, we spoke to our attorneys. I asked them. They said there's no pending. We purposely called them to make sure it was legal to do it. And they said there's no, what were their words? There's no pending charges and there's no warrants. So you want to go, go. And so I thought you ask your attorneys and they tell you that. I'm going.
So this is the big one. What do you think? Was this just a trip to Vietnam to get away from it all, or was this an attempt by Donna to escape the long arm of the law? Let's dig into the words she uses. The question is put to her. You said that if you are given a bond, you will reside in Tallahassee and you will follow court orders. But when you were afraid of being arrested right after Charlie Adelson's trial, isn't it true that you hoped that you could get to the airport before you were arrested? And the point I want to pull out in that question is the part, isn't it true? Isn't it true that you hoped that you could get to the airport before you were arrested? Now, that's a yes or no question. No, it's true. Yes, it's true. No, it's not. And instead, she doesn't answer the question. In fact, she quibbles with something earlier on in the question. She says, I wasn't afraid of being arrested. So why does she want to quibble with that? And why does she want to talk about being afraid of being arrested? Probably because it's quite a high priority in her head. So she's asked, what were you trying to get to the airport in time for? And she says, my husband and I literally shocked and traumatized at what happened to Charlie. And he said, we need to go, just get some peace. We need to catch our breath. We're going to go away somewhere. And I thought it was a good idea because I couldn't think straight. She doesn't answer the question. That's the first thing I noticed there. What were you trying to get to the airport in time for? She doesn't say, so I didn't miss a flight. to escape the country. She doesn't even say, I just wanted to get away and did not want to miss this flight, or man, I wanted to get away from home. I just got out of there and got to the airport. She doesn't answer the question at all. She's asked, what were you trying to get to the airport in time for? And she talks about being shocked and traumatized at what happened to Charlie, and that she wanted to get some peace, to catch her breath. She wanted to go away somewhere, but she doesn't answer the question. And she's moving into persuasive words mode here. She starts off the answer with, my husband and I literally shocked and traumatized at what had happened to Charlie. That word literally does not need to be there. Shocked and traumatized would have been enough. If she said, my husband and I were shocked and traumatized at what had happened to Charlie, it would have the exact same meaning as literally shocked and traumatized at what happened to Charlie, but she's added in the word literally to make it sound more real, to make it sound like, yeah, I really, really felt this. I literally felt shocked and traumatized at what had happened to Charlie. And he said, we need to get some peace. Now, you'll notice all the way through the telling of this story, and it's a very bad thing that she's done. She was trying to go to a country to escape the law that was closing in on her, and she didn't even want to answer the questions in court. She didn't want to have any of that. She wanted to go to a country with no extradition treaty, so she never had to face court or the law in the United States of America. But this is all being put on Charlie in her not on Charlie, on her husband Harvey in this telling of the story. And he said, we just need to get some peace. We need to catch our breath. She is blaming him. This was all his decision, not hers. She was just going along with the flow. She was going along with whatever it was that Harvey wanted to do. It wasn't her idea to go to Vietnam. It was all about him. He said, we need to just get some peace. So once again, we've got this word just, focusing us down on just one thing. Look, I don't doubt that one of the reasons they wanted to get away from America was to get some peace and quiet. But it wasn't just to get some peace and quiet, was it? It was to get away from the law, the consequences of anything that she had done, or even answering questions about the things that she might have done or she allegedly did. We need to catch our breath. We're going to go away somewhere. Now, this is interesting. You will see her talk about this trip quite a bit, and she always uses the word away with it. It's never just, we need to go somewhere. It's go away. That is, the focus is not on where you're going to go as so much as what you're getting away from. So we need to go away somewhere. And I thought it was a good idea because I couldn't think straight. So we have some stress there in the stuttering, and I thought it was a good idea because again, the word just, couldn't think straight. There was more going on again, but she's trying to narrow it down to just, I just couldn't think straight is what she's trying to say there. But that just suggests there is more being hidden away inside her answer. So the reason wasn't just that she couldn't think straight. She goes on to talk about still not thinking straight. I really couldn't think straight is what she said. We've got that word really in there. I really couldn't think straight. Again, this is a need to persuade us of what she was feeling. Why that need to persuade us? Why she's selling us this story? Why does she not just say, I couldn't think straight? No, it's I really couldn't think straight. And she carries on. I was so upset. Again, a need to persuade. She could just say, I was upset. And we'd understand that her son has just been jailed for his part in a murder plot. I was upset. Would be fine, but she has to tell us how upset she was, because what she's trying to do here, I believe, is sell us a story and not tell us what was going on, but sell us what was happening. So I really couldn't think straight. I was so upset. And so was he. And it was his idea. He said, sweetheart, let go. So again, she's not taking any of the blame for this. It was his idea. And he said, sweetheart, let's go. So you can see there that she is not taking any of the blame for this decision to try and take a trip to Vietnam. He said, sweetheart, let's go. Just get away. We're going to just get away somewhere so we can have some time to think. So we've got the word just in there twice. Just get away. We're going to just get away. We've got that thing happening again where there was more going on, but what they want to do, or what Donna wants to do, is focus us down very narrowly on the fact they just wanted to get away. They just needed a break. So that is what she's doing there in her words. I just want to get away. But as you can see, it's get away again. It's not just have a break. It's not just get some peace. The word away is in there twice. Just get away. We're going to just get away. Her focus is not on the trip, the peace they're going to get or anything like that. It's on the being away that was on her mind there, which is why she's said it twice, why it's come up quite a lot. So she's asked, okay, so your testimony is that you weren't trying to go to Vietnam because you wouldn't be able to be extradited from there. Donna says, so my husband actually had said, we'd been to Vietnam before with friends. We were on vacation. So she doesn't answer the question. Your testimony is you weren't trying to go to Vietnam because you wouldn't be able to be extradited from there. My testimony is I needed a break would be a direct answer to that question. But no, that's not what comes from Donna. It's so my husband actually had said, we'd been to Vietnam before with friends. We were on vacation. Completely irrelevant to the question. So she's selling us a story here. She starts with so. When someone answers a question and it starts with so or well, you get an explanation more than you are an answer to the question. My husband actually had said, by the way, he didn't just say it, he actually said it. So this is a need to persuade us that this is what happened, i.e., why do you need to persuade us that this happened? Why can't you just tell us that this happened? If you were a truthful person, that was what you'd be likely to do, and we'd just believe you. We'd been to Vietnam before with friends. We were on vacation. That word vacation there, why did she pull that out? She hasn't used vacation to describe this other trip to Vietnam. In fact, the use of vacation there makes it sound like that was a vacation. This trip to Vietnam with friends was a vacation. I get that. It's a bona fide vacation. But she's using it and she's kind of talking about that vacation as if it's something different from what she was planning to do there, which is, I think, escape from the long arm of the law. And she says, and it really was like a place of peace. And so he said, if we go to a non-extradition country, then if law enforcement decided that they wanted to arrest you or me, whatever, both, he said, we won't be sitting in some foreign prison waiting months to go back. Now that is a word salad there. But she says it really was like a place of peace. So she doesn't say it was a place of peace. It just was like a place of peace. And really, again, we've got persuasive language going on there. And also we have the and so again there. I've talked enough about what that means in this episode. But then when we have this talking about the fact they want to go somewhere with an extradition treaty, because if they go somewhere without an extradition treaty, they can't be put in a foreign jail. And what she's trying to get across is that, well, that means we could just go back. We wouldn't be sitting in jail languishing for ages, which I didn't want to do. I just wanted to go right back to America and face the music. But this is how she verbalizes that. He said, so if they decided they wanted to arrest you, me, whatever, both, then we won't be sitting in a foreign prison waiting for months to come back. And Donna says, we could buy a ticket and we could go home. And my understanding was that I could go home and I could turn myself in if that's what they wanted. Now, number one, she's kind of just letting out there, but she hasn't said it was a one-way ticket that they bought or they didn't have a return journey planned at all, but she's leaking it out there. We could buy a ticket and we could go home. But note that word could. It's not, if the police wanted to talk to us, we would buy a ticket. We would go home and face the music. Instead, it's just we could buy a ticket and we could go home. So she's only talking in possibilities there, things that could happen, not things that would happen, not actions that she would commit to taking, just possibilities that could happen. I'm not feeling very good about this story. She's then asked, okay, but you were hoping to make it out of America in time before you were arrested, right? And she said, I wanted to get away. He wanted to get away. That's what we wanted to do. And it wasn't it. I mean, that we spoke to our attorneys. So we've got more gobbledygook and a lot of stress showing up there in terms of her words. We spoke to our attorneys. She's not quite certain of the story here. And that stuttering, stammering and restarting is indicating that she's got some stress going on because this is a stressful thing for her to talk about. Now, when we're telling the truth, quite often, we don't feel any stress. Maybe in court, because someone's challenging our view, we might feel some stress, but certainly there's stress there in all that stuttering and that restarting. Once more, we've got this concept of getting away. I wanted to get away. He wanted to get away. Not we wanted to go somewhere and get some peace. Is get away. It's not be in America. And by the way, she says, I wanted to get away. And she realizes, I think, that she hasn't blamed her husband, Harvey, for this one. I wanted to get away. He wanted to get away. It was all him. It was all him. And we spoke to the attorneys. It doesn't answer the question. You were hoping to make it out of America in time before you were arrested, right? I wanted to get away. It does not answer that question. Then, in talking about speaking to the attorney, she says, I asked them. They said there's no pending. We purposely called them to make sure it was legal to do it. Now, purposely, again, it's a word that's not needed. You don't unpurposely call someone unless you dial the wrong number, and that would be interesting. I dialed the wrong number, but it's the attorney, so listen, while you're on, is it legal to do this? We purposely called them to make sure it was legal to do it, and they said there's no, what were their words? There's no pending charges and there's no warrants. So you want to go? Go. And then she says, so you ask your attorneys and they tell you that I'm going. So you ask your attorneys and they tell you that I'm going. She doesn't talk about herself there. It's not, I called my attorneys, they told me that, I went. It's you ask your attorneys and they tell you that I'm going. Interesting use of language there. And she continues with the story of her planned trip to Vietnam.
But Dan did tell you, as you say in the jail call, that knowing what they're thinking up there, I don't know if you'll make it out in time. I really don't. But that he said you might, or you might get to the airport and they'll stop you. It could happen.
That's what he said.
Right. So you went to the airport knowing that it could happen. They could stop you at the airport. You could end up being arrested.
Yeah, that's what Dan said.
Right. And when you were looking at places to go those couple of days after Charlie Adelson's trial, you were specifically looking, though, for countries that did not have extradition with the U.S.
For the reason I just told you.
Right. And the reason that you're saying that you were looking for countries with no extradition was so that you could get back faster in order to be arrested in the U.S.
No, that's not what I said. It's because, I don't know, maybe we watch too much TV or too many movies, but I've seen movies where people are stuck in like third world prisons and waiting and waiting and waiting. And my feeling was, this is not what we want to happen. If the state says they want us to come back, we'll buy a ticket, we'll come back on our own terms. We don't have to be sitting in a jail somewhere. We'll come back home and turn ourselves in.
Couldn't you have done that no matter what country you went to?
No.
No?
No.
You couldn't have found out that you had a warrant for your arrest and come back if there was an extradition
Well,
policy?
not if they would. I'm not in law enforcement, but it appears that they would notify law enforcement in that country, and then they could hold you in a jail for God knows how long. And I didn't want that to happen. So he said, well, that's why we'll do it this way, honey. That way, if they do notify us, so we get a phone call from our attorney or from law enforcement, then we'll buy a ticket, we'll go home.
Okay.
And so it would have been on our terms. That was the point. That was the reason that he thought that was a good idea.
Donna there, throwing good old Harvey under the bus again. I pulled out some truthful language there. Dan did tell you, as you say in the jail call, that knowing what they're thinking out there, I don't know if you'll make it out in time. I really don't. But that he said you might, or you might get to the airport and they'll stop you. It could happen. And Donna's answer is very crisp. If you notice, it's just, that's what he said. And I believe that. It's very truthful, and this is how Donna tells the truth. There's no need to persuade, there's no extra words. You see, there's no stress, stuttering, restarting in there at all. It's just very straightforward. That's what he said. That is how most people tell the truth. That's how most people give answers that are quite honest. They're sharp, they're short, they're to the point. There's no words in there that don't need to be in there. And that's what we get from Donna. It's put to her, right, so you went to the airport knowing that they could stop you at the airport, you could end up getting arrested. And she says, yeah, that's what Dan said. It's a yes-no question. You went to the airport knowing that they could stop you at the airport. You could say, yes, I did. No, I didn't. She says, yeah, that's what Dan said. Again, it's very short, sharp. Now, look, I think she might be being that way because she's trying to keep herself out of trouble, and it's what Dan said, and she's not talking about herself. But there's just what the truth sounds like when it comes out of Donna Adelson's mouth. It's short, it's sharp, it's direct. There's nothing in there that doesn't need to be there. So this is interesting when we move on. It's put to her, right, and when you were looking at places to go a couple of days after Charlie Adelson's trial, you were specifically looking, though, for countries that did not have extradition with the US. She says, for the reason I just told you. And the reason that you were saying that you were looking for countries with no extradition was so that you could get back faster in order to be arrested in the US. And Donna says, no, that's not what I said, which it isn't, to be fair. It's because I don't know, and this is where she goes extra. She could have just said yes or no and leave it at that, but she feels the need to persuade and get her point of view across. She says, it's because I don't know, maybe we watch too much TV or too many movies, but I've seen movies where the people are stuck in like third world prisons and waiting, and my feeling was, this is not what we want to happen. If the state says they want us to come back, we'll buy a ticket. We'll come back on our own terms. We don't have to be sent to jail somewhere. Now, what she's saying, it could just kind of make logical sense to me. Now, I'm not saying for a second that's really what was going on in her head, but, the fact of, if I went to Vietnam, I wouldn't have to go to jail because they don't have an extradition treaty. I would buy a ticket and just fly back. Logically, that makes sense. Is it what happened, or was that what was going through her mind? We'll come to that in the conclusion. However, it just keeps leaking that that's really not what was going on. We'll come back on our own terms. It's that need to control again. It's that sort of I am above everyone else inside this story that shines through whenever Donna Adelson talks. The reason I went away was to come back on my own terms. No one else ain't going to tell me what to do. She says, we'll come back home and turn ourselves in. Couldn't you have done that no matter what the country you went to? She's asked. No, you couldn't have found out that if you've had a warrant for your arrest and come back if there wasn't an extradition warrant. And she says, I'm not in law enforcement, so the stress is coming through there. Very hard for me to say. I'm not in law enforcement. So this line of questioning is causing her stress. Stress we haven't really seen in some of the other stories that she's told. So this is a very important thing for her to get her story out there. And because she's being pushed back on, that is what seems to be causing Donna the stress here. She says, but it appears that they would notify law enforcement in that country and then they could hold you in jail for God knows how long. And I didn't want that to happen. So he said, well, that's why we'll do it this way, honey. So again, this was all down to Harvey. That's why we'll do it this way. He was all in charge of this. That's why we'll do it this way, honey. That way, if they do notify us so we can get a phone call from our attorney or from law enforcement, then we'll buy a ticket. We'll go home. Good on them. At least this time, there is some commitment to buying a ticket there. And it wasn't just that, could buy a ticket if we wanted to. Also, could not buy a ticket and just stay there. There's no extradition treaty. This time, we will buy a ticket. And then she says, and so that would have been on our terms. That was the point. That was the reason that he thought it was a good idea. So continuing to blame Harvey for all this till the end, and also that controlling language, that need to be top dog again, coming out from Donna, because what the whole point of what she's telling us here, she does want us to think that this just wasn't so I could be in jail, but really this is about being on my terms. I'm sure that she felt that she needed to be in control of what was happening to her and not leave it to the vagaries of law enforcement in America. She wanted things on our own terms. In fact, that's quite a good summary of what we've seen from everything that we've looked at in this hearing. Donna really wants things on her own terms. Fitting in is not something that Donna does. So there we go. What do I think? Look, there's two big questions, I think. Number one, is Donna being honest about how bad life in jail is? And my thought is, not really. I think it's not pleasant. You wouldn't expect jail to be pleasant, but is it horrible? Can she not cope? Can she not live? No, she's laying that on way too thick. And then, was it simply a trip to Vietnam just for a bit of a break to get some peace and some zen quiet in the beautiful country? Or was she avoiding extradition? She was avoiding extradition. It's there in her words that she wanted to get away. She had no thoughts of returning. And if she ever did return, it wouldn't be because someone else wanted her to come back. It would be when she decided to and on her own terms. So, what are your thoughts? Do let me know in the comments. If you can get in touch on social media too. You'll find all the links in the show description. neveratruerword.com is the website where you will find a whole lot more videos, including a playlist for Charlie Adelson, Donna Adelson, Wendy Adelson style analysis, and also you can find those on podcasts as well. It's all at neveratruerword.com, and we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.